thanks for being here with us today. Today marks another TICC.TALK, and we're proud to actually host a wonderful and inspiring keynote speaker today, Claus Cremers, who I will introduce in a minute. Before we get started, I'd like to express also my gratitude and appreciation to my colleagues, Madeleine and Matthias, who helped set it up and organize this TICC.TALK. My name is Tobias Gutmann. I'm an assistant professor here at EBS, and together with Sven Henkel and Christoph Schneider, we're building the TICC, the Institute for Technology, Innovation and Customer Centricity. And there, we want to find some of the great answers to some of the great questions, of today's decision makers, innovators, change makers in business and society. And we want to connect practitioners and scholars and discuss topics about technology and innovation. And for this also we have set up this TICC.TALK. And today I want to introduce Claus Cremers. He's a director of automotive ecosystems at Siemens. He's also a member of the board of directors at Catena-X, and he will talk about today what it is and what is actually his job is. I actually personally know him for I think 7 or 8 years. Time flies by, so I'm glad to reconnect today and have you on this TICC.TALK. Some logistics. So Claus will have 15 to 20 minutes talk. So if you have questions, use the chat function. We collect all the questions. I will ask some questions, then we'll stop the recording, and we still have a lot of time to discuss. So bear with us. You have a lot of time to ask your questions directly to Claus after his talk. So without further ado, welcome Claus, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much for this amazing introduction. So I think it's on me to share my screen. I hope it works. So thanks again for being here. My name is Claus Cremers, and the title Director Automotive Ecosystem didn't exist 1 year before we speak today. We just invented this because we found out ecosystems are so relevant, and especially the automotive industry is facing such great challenges that we need to think different. This is part of my job today to explain it also to you, and I'm always happy to discuss this topic with leaders of the future. And my job within Siemens allows me to be member of the board of the Catena-X Association. And what's it all about? I will show you now. Let's get inspired. So what do we find in the automotive industry? I think this is one of the greatest crises we ever find. And Winston Churchill said, never let a good crisis go to waste. So let's do something out of it. And this slide was made like 1 year from now. So it was made before we ran into the actual crisis. And the topic of resilience is not new, but it's getting like really, really important as hell. And you get all the executive awareness you need to build whatever is necessary. So resilience of the automotive supply chain, how do we get all the parts here to our factories? This is the left part. The next thing is, I think many of you are very, very aware of the sustainability topic. And what happens, slowly but steady regulation comes through. So we will get new regulations that will be making the supply chain more transparent and being able to calculate the product carbon footprint of each product that you consume is the target. Imagine that, So you really need the information of what this product has really put out through the process of production. The next topic is geopolitics and innovation. We all found out that it's really getting more faster than we think. And we in Europe sometimes think, hey, let's see what's happening and then copy it. No, it's not possible. If we don't act now, we find out that the people from the other side of the ocean and the other side of the world have the better ideas of how to solve our problems when it comes to platform business, when it comes to being fast in innovation. This is really important that we're now finding solutions. And last but not least, the whole thing will be so expensive that nobody can pay the price. So we put everything together in one pot now and try to do it together. So these are the 4 pillars that create our network mission. And thanks, Tobias, for telling me that you are here for customer centricity. We want to build the most user-friendly environment to collaborate through the complete supply chain of the automotive industry. We call it data chain. I will explain you what it's all about. Yeah, and this results in a data ecosystem, and all that is coming afterwards. Yeah, and we are trying to build business on it. And let's see who's involved. Who's involved? Basically, everyone who builds part of the car, but also uses the car, and also finally will create new car of it. In the future, we will not build one car, we will always build 2 or 3 cars, because we will, of course, recycle the car. Yeah. So part of our value chain is everybody who's doing production. And to give you some numbers, companies like BMW have like a bench of suppliers, about 60,000 suppliers. And if you get further down the line, it gets complex, and you don't really know who's doing what. Yeah. So the transparency about the supply chain is very important, but also financial partners, logistic partners. Where are the parts coming from? Who's responsible for what? Last but not least, the whole topic of IoT. Data, and where does it come from? Out of the production, out of the field when it comes to logistic processes. Yeah, everything is important, and how do we connect it? This is the task here, and therefore, what do you need? You need a comprehensive thing. You need something where you can easily onboard everybody. Small and medium companies are not digitized at all. Welcome to the new world. If you come out of your university studies now and you have the idea to work for a small and medium-sized company, you will find out, hey, not everybody is digitized. At least if you're not working for a startup in Berlin, you will face problems that you wouldn't have think before. Yeah, and we want to create this user-friendly environment along the whole supply chain. Yeah, this is the target, and this is where we're working on. Just this logo picture, I know you all hate it, but just that you know, it's really meant as we speak. Yeah, on the left side, you will find companies like Volkswagen, BMW, Daimler, or Mercedes, as they call them today, and also lots of the other companies here, very important German companies, but not only Germany is involved. We already have in our association companies like Ford, like Stellantis, the 3rd biggest car supplier. Many companies that are not only Germany based, so this is European already, and it grows as fast as hell. Yeah, so we need to control it. We need to see what's coming out of it. So lots of things possible, and how do we manage it? I think this is interesting for you. How do we manage this already existing ecosystem? We have a vision, we have guiding principles, and we started small with 9 companies called pioneers, and we had a consensus that this significant need for action, yeah, is now there, and we want to create something that is European based, that also reflects our values about interoperability, about secure data exchange, which is, by the way, not only important for the automotive industry, but for everyone who wants to handle data in the industry. Yeah, and this is where we really can put our strengths in the game. Yeah, we have this alliance vision that is not something we do as one company. We do it together, and that all, by the way, yeah, out of my side box here, I can tell you this is difficult. Speaking for a Siemens employee who is always with the mindset to conquer the world. Yeah, so the idea to give first, to have this alliance vision is very, very important. The guiding principle of collaboration. What does it mean to collaborate when it's not really clear about the business case after all? Yeah, just to create this data chain, that to be able to let data flow doesn't make a good business. So how do we implement it? How do we scale? How do we make system relevance? Yeah, we'll speak about the use cases later, so it gets more concrete as we are proceeding here. The highest asset, the most important asset that we have in Europe is our intellectual property about how to produce things. And this needs to be secure, but it needs to be open. Yeah. So we are working on an open, secure system that doesn't discriminate anyone, giving access to the platform or whatever is coming out, network of networks, we call it. Yeah. And therefore, we're using those principles that were built also already some years ago, called Gaia-X. Some of you who want to know about Gaia-X, this is really, really interesting. It's a concept, it's an idea, it's also technology, how to make data transfer sovereign for each party. Yeah, we build on open source stacks. Open source is very, very fascinating, but it's also new to the world for us. So we need to learn how to use open source, but we are doing it. Yeah, and of course, we are doing the standards. Standards are very important because without any standard, you won't get any data flow ready. And I think this was our strength in the past, and this will be our strength in the future. So let me give you some insight. We're speaking about use cases, not about a holistic ecosystem. Let's conquer the world. We're speaking about use cases, and there we have 10 of them. Very concrete, very precise. Yeah, but therefore, to really run those use cases, you need a kind of an operating system or a network of networks. And the third pillar on my agenda will be how do we transfer this idea into the world. Let me start with the use cases. First of all, you need one identifier for each of the 100,000 suppliers. You won't imagine how many address books exist out there. I would say the business partner data management is like the yellow pages. Yeah, people who had like analog telephones knew that you need to find a telephone number in a telephone book. Yeah, and this is a problem because this doesn't exist in the automotive industry. So each of the suppliers and each of the original car manufacturers look up the data of their suppliers in their own address books. So we need this golden record. And the core and the heart is the traceability of parts. And now it gets a little bit complex because if you can imagine, each car is different. Each car consists of thousands of parts, and each part needs to be tracked down to the origin of their production, to the steel that is produced in the steel company, to the coal that is, I don't know the English word, grabbed out of the soil, yeah, somewhere in Australia, yeah. And what is happening? What happened via the production process? So the traceability is the core, and to make it simple, you have all the supply. I have another slide for that. Yeah, let me come back to traceability later. And the lower part of the use cases, I will just point out some of them, not all of them. CO2 footprint is one of the most important things because there are legal regulations, because it is very important for not only to solve the regulations, but also to be able to differentiate on the market. If you know that your car was produced more sustainable than other cars, maybe customer will decide to buy this car. Yeah. So it's not only a matter of really having all the legal restrictions done. Yeah, not only a tick in the box, but really differentiating. Yeah, and there are more complex things, like for example, the manufacturing as a service. Imagine your capacity in the supply chain was stable for years, and now it's shifting. Suddenly, parts are not there from one supplier. So what do you want to do now? Shift to another supplier. But you know what's necessary? You need all the data that is provided by the one supplier now with the other supplier. How do you shift capacities? And there we have, for example, very fascinating new things like additive manufacturing. Think about printed parts. Yeah, this needs to be combined appropriately, and it's very, very fascinating. And maybe the last thing here will be the basis of it, of course, is a digital twin of a thing. a car, a digital car, a part, a digital part, yeah. And how do you standardize this part? Yeah, of course, this is the heart of it, yeah. And all the use cases here we are working on already, and there's a huge crowd of people working on each of the use cases, and also many companies joining our party now. Yeah, from day to day we are growing because there are lots of things already in place. I don't know. Give me a sign. I didn't look at the time. Do I have more time? 12. Oh, I think I can go to this because some of you maybe like being a little bit more tech affine. Yeah. So this is our technology. On the right side, we'll have shared services because we said we don't want to have appropriate platform. We want to have an open platform, and there we have green layers. Yeah, this will be mostly open source layers based on this Gaia-X thing I just pointed out. And there you need to connect things to provide data exchange. Yeah, you need business services that are working. You need one portal, one place where all the customers, all the suppliers, we call customers, can just connect. We are speaking about data rooms. Yeah, decentralized data rooms. We need a competition on the application level. So, for example, there will be circular economy application or a CO2 footprint calculator as a business application. So the suppliers can choose, but they can be sure it's based on a common network layer. It's all made. It's not everything will be open source, but many things will be open source. And we say FOSS, so first, open source first, and it's all there on GitHub. For those of you who like to look it up, you can find it there, of course. Yeah, it's all about APIs today. So we are working on APIs. And how do we collaborate? This is also new to the world for us, at least. Yeah, we did it right from the beginning, switched to agile. And this means nobody has the plan. It's coming from, there's a common goal, and then you deliver in sprints. And this is also very fascinating how the whole system is now working. Let me speak a little bit about how do we transfer our solutions. Yeah? On the left side, you see what I was telling you about the supply chain. You'll have the recycler of a car. You have the car manufacturer, OEMs, called OEMs. Yeah, so those people are building cars, Volkswagen, Mercedes, BMW, for example. And then you have tiers. In Germany, the great names are, for example, Bosch, ZF, Continental. Some of you might have heard the names, yeah. And then it gets more fuzzy, and you will have companies that are smaller and medium-sized. But you need always connect the partners in a joint time frame. And we say in short time you need to connect them, because it's not enough to only connect one car supplier with a car manufacturer. You need to connect the whole supply chain very fast, yeah, because otherwise you have a bad user experience. Yeah, it's simple as is. If you want to track your part, but you don't have any information there, what's it? You will think, oh, it's a waste of time. Yeah, so you need to connect the companies here. That's important. How do we do it? We're using, of course, already existing hub structures. Yeah, we're working closely with the Federal Ministry of Economics and Technology, or Gaia-X hubs that already existing. So we try to do everything that's already there, not inventing everything new, and we already speak across the borders. Yeah, so this is just an example for Germany. Of course, we have a tight roadmap, and don't want to talk about everything, but what's about this year now? This year, as we started last year, this year already we are launching the first products. We have the goal to connect with 1,000 partners, suppliers this year. Let's see if it happens. Yeah, and of course you need to find a way into the small and medium companies. Yeah, that's very important. And we want to really have use cases online. and have a standardized data model, and under everything we do is the systematic copy protection, because this differentiates us. If we can't make it happen that our data out of the production, out of the car engineering is protected properly, nobody will ever use it. So this is very, very important to understand. So I hope I stayed in time, Toby. I skipped some parts, but
yeah, all good.
Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Thank you so much, Klaus. I have hundreds of questions, but let me just ask 2 questions and then we open the floor for all the audience. Maybe the first one is a personal one. You know, there's this nice commencement speech, Stanford from Steve Jobs, where he said, you know, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. And in the beginning, you started off, you know, your job title wasn't there a year ago, you know, but actually when I look at your career, it makes sense. You know, you were the account manager, business developer, IoT ecosystem developer, and so on. Can you share a little, you know, your career advice, maybe also for the students? How do you become an ecosystem manager, or how do you plan a career like that?
Wow, that's a great question. So I think when we get to know each other, I was in my part of the business development role, but I started in account management because for me it was always important to have like an external ecosystem. Let's call it ecosystem right from the beginning. To speak with customers is nothing more than creating your own ecosystem. So for me, it was clear I don't want to sit in my office and speaking to my colleagues. I want to learn from outside. And this was my starting point right from the beginning. And when you are in industrial sales, yeah, you will have to speak with so many different people, and this really inspired me a lot. But last but not least, but then after being the account management, I was thinking about management structures, and I thought, how do we manage this complexity of a Siemens organization? And I went into business development, learned how we organize with our countries, because you have a different structure in each country. So I learned how this works. Yeah, and there I think we got to know and had to face the challenge: how do we organize healthcare, mobility, industrial things with how to build houses and infrastructure. So this was what I learned. How do we manage that? And then again, I was thinking, oh, that's a little bit too much inside. Let's get outside again. And in those days, the IoT thing came up. And I learned again, how do we collaborate in ecosystems? How do we build a more central platform? That was my part when we were growing MindSphere. Yeah, and MindSphere had everything it needed. It still has everything it's needed to grow an ecosystem if you want to have one platform. And this was so fascinating. We did hackathons with students, but also learned that you first need to think about business models, new business models. Yeah. So this is the next mind change. There's not a simple transactional business anymore. It's about business models. Software as a service is very, very easy said, but it's complex to really think about what's the business model in industrial spheres. Yeah.
But what I hear out of here is, of course, you know, you can't really plan your career, especially in times like that. But you can be curious, you know, and you build your own career. And you know, this is, I think.
Yeah, I think it's important to really look outside of your company. If you have a strict "I stay inside my box" thing, it doesn't work anymore. You have to get out because, and this is the reason, it's growing too fast. It's developing too fast. And if you stay inside, you will not recognize what's happening out there. So this is my advice. Yeah, always have things like this here. Being in a TikTok for me is very interesting. So let's get more questions.
When you talked about the vision and the guidelines for Catena-X, this is very interesting for me because everything seems so different, almost contrary actually to business as usual in the old days. What do you think is the biggest challenge right now in building such an innovation ecosystem?
The biggest challenge, the easy answer would be, yeah, we just need this technology ready. Yeah, open source. Nobody never did it. Open source. Yeah, just need to develop. You need the right developer. Yeah, but the answer is not true. The right answer is a mindset shift. Yeah, how do we make this transformation, as we call it. Yeah, how do we learn to give more than we take, and how do we get under the umbrella of a common goal? And to make it clear, you need, I think, to solve this problem, you also need a joint target, maybe a joint enemy as well. Yeah, to really do something that really brings 28 companies or like hundreds of suppliers to the next level. You need a common goal. Yeah, and this is where we are working on. And for example, we shifted it from a waterfall structure to an agile development modus, and this is still in progress. It's not there, yeah, but we are working on it very hard.